Welcome to That's What She Said, where we'll spill the tea on women empowerment in the Great Lakes Bay region with your host, Christiana Malacara.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of That's What She Said. Thank you for tuning in this week, every week. If this is your first week, welcome. My name is Christiana Malacara, and I'm the host. I'm the girl behind the mic every week. As you tune in, if you are watching us, it is live. You are tuning into our social media stream on all of the social media outlets, Facebook, YouTube, WSGW's Facebook page. That's What She Said's Facebook page, and also Instagram. And I also have created a TikTok account. That makes me a little bit nervous about being a millennial and kind of getting into that world a little late, but it's all good. If you are listening to us on the sound waves of the radio, what a beautiful thing. That would be on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. or Sunday at 6 p.m. And then the podcast format is anywhere you get your podcast at. So I'm always on Spotify. That's one of my favorites. So just search That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara. Thank you for tuning in, and we have a really good show today. I am excited to share this person with you, and kind of explore who she is. But before we get to that, as you know, I take this quick few moments before our episode to kind of reflect. I've been, I don't want to say journaling, but I've been writing things down, like pen and paper kind of thing, and then I later translate some of those key points to my phone from week to week. So that way I have something to reflect on and share with you. So I had come across someone who, and we had talked about it here on the podcast too, and the radio show too, of failure, right? Everybody experiences failure. And someone had even went so far of, you're really not living life until you fail at something. And that kind of hit me because, where we're navigating through, just through high school. Honestly, you don't want to fail a class. College, you don't want to fail a course. Your marriage, your career, a friendship, all of these things, you don't want to fail at them. But is that really living? Are you learning something if you're always top of your game? And honestly, ladies, are we really top of our game all the time? So with that word failure, other words came up when I was writing things down and kind of brainstorming. And it's, what are you going to do after you fail? I think that is the most important question to ask ourselves is, okay, I failed at this. What's next? How do I push myself forward after failure? So as you navigate through your week, just take a moment to think about it. It's okay to fail, but coming up with a plan and getting up again, even if you're probably going to fail again, getting up again, that's probably one of the most important things in life, is what you do after failure. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my dear friend, and our That's What She Said guest for this week is Raquel Perez. Hi, how are you?
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for being here today, first of all.
I am so excited to finally be a guest here.
Yes, I've
been waiting for my turn. I've been waiting. And then the stars didn't align at first, but now here we are. So thank you.
Yeah. When you said you've been waiting in line, I pictured, at the meat market where you grab a ticket. And
yes.
You're like,
I was ticket number 49.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're just waiting this whole time. Like, come on, any minute now. She's going to call my number. Well, thank you. I mean, our friendship has grown over the years.
Absolutely.
And we find ourselves in a lot of the same circles. And it's just really, really cool to have someone that you've, admired and grown with and just see that process. That's really cool. And the fact that we get to discuss some of those things today makes it even better.
Absolutely.
So I know who you are, but can you introduce yourself and tell us how the community might know you?
Oh my gosh, this is such a loaded question, Christiana. I feel like we can go 10 different ways. So my name is Raquel Perez. I most people probably would know me. I work at Hemlock Semiconductor. I'm the diversity and community liaison. I do a lot of community engagement on behalf of the company, but also on behalf of myself. I love being a servant-based leader. So you'll see me in a lot of different pockets, just having conversations, uplifting people, uplifting our community. Anytime I can lend a talent that I might have to make things better, I'm going to try to do it. So I volunteer in a lot of spaces as well. I don't know. I guess where else can I be? I'm a mom, right? I'm a mom. I have 3 littles. My oldest is 14. My middle is about a little over 3.5, and then my daughter is 2.5. And she's something else.
She is.
She is something else. She has the cutest little face, but man, she's so we call it traviesa, right? She's kind of a troublemaker.
I wonder where she gets that from.
It's my side of the family. It is what it is. I'm a wife. I've been married to my husband we're going on 4 years now. Shout out to my husband Federico. Hey, babe.
Hey.
So I think I'm winning at that as well. I'm a daughter. I'm a granddaughter.
That's amazing.
I'm a friend. I'm a sorority sister. There's so many different hats that I wear. So again, it was a load of questions. Like, tell me about you. Like, where do you come from?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm like, I grew up in Saginaw. I grew up on the south side of Saginaw. That's my home. That's still always going to be my home.
Right off the bat, you said something. You said you are a servant-based leader. Can we take a moment to slow down and unpack those 3 words? What does that mean?
That means I'm always looking to do for someone else. I'm always looking for an opportunity to serve, to give back. I'm not looking for recognition. I don't need it. Obviously, I think people, they do love it, right? Who doesn't love to be recognized? But that's not what makes me do what I want to do, right? It doesn't. It isn't driving it. What's driving me is like, how can I make things better for a person, for our community, for the overall good of everything.
Where do you think that came from?
I think I've just kind of always had it. I mean, maybe it's a cultural thing. I was kind of reflecting on this. So I'm Hispanic, I'm Mexican American. I also identify as Chicana, but culturally, we were just kind of raised where it's like, you have to have a strong work ethic. Nobody's going to do it for you. You're going to have to do it for yourself, right? And that, I grew up in a multi-generational household where, my grandparents were migrant workers, right? So, they knew that hard work ethic where, they're not going to just hand you something. You're going to just have to do it yourself. And so having that mindset where it's just like, well, if I can do this, I know I'm capable of doing it. Let me do it for others.
Yeah. Do you think, okay, so we're just gonna dive right into this now. Do you think having a multi-generational household builds resilience?
I do. I think though, for myself, it really, I think the biggest value that I had from that experience of growing up is appreciation, appreciating the different journeys that the folks that I grew up with had. And actually it was like, we also grew up in like a neighborhood where all of our family kind of lived in the same neighborhood, but it just, I guess it made me just better appreciate, where my grandparents came from, the journey that my mom took in her career, and then how close we were, just growing up overall and just valuing family. Family comes first,
Yeah.
How awesome is that?
You don't really see that often. The idea of your family growing up in the same like proximity, right? You have a sibling that lives across the state or, in a different state. Like kind of over time we just spread out. But we're gonna come back to that. So you're working at HSE right now.
Yep.
Yeah. And what was the title?
My title is Diversity and Community Liaison.
What's your favorite part of that job?
Oh my gosh. I love my job. I don't know if a lot of people can say that, but like my favorite part of the job is working and not realize that you're working. And being a community, a community servant on behalf of, myself, but mostly for the company. It's an amazing feeling to just know that you're doing all of these things in so many different ways. helping to tell the story, giving people that aha moment. Sometimes I pretend I'm a scientist and tell people about our our chemical processes on how we do what we do.
You have that elevator speech down.
I have the elevator speech down. I think I do, at least. I think some of our scientists might question it.
Like, who's this girl?
They're like, take her off the stage now. We're done. So I think that's my favorite part of the job, is to just know that I'm working, but I'm not working. Right? It's something that I love to do, and it just makes it that much easier to wake up in the morning to just do it.
Yeah. Was it always that way for you? Like when you first started that position?
Honestly, it would say, yeah. I mean, obviously in any job, you're going to have those growing pains, right? You're going to be challenged to do better, to do more, to be better for yourself. But I would say all of those opportunities and that feedback that I've received in the a little less than 5 years that I've been there, it's been so rewarding. It's been so rewarding. And I love the fact that I've been able to kind of like grow in this role and help it evolve to where it is today.
What were you doing before this?
So I worked a little bit at Central Michigan University. I worked with mostly college students, but this was like right when COVID hit. So it was a really weird time. And then I also taught a class there. And then before that, I was a nonprofit. I worked for YFU USA, helping with students.
Wait, pause. You skimmed right over this. You taught a class.
Just one.
What? I mean, that's a thing. What was the class?
It was first year experiences. It was a really awesome opportunity. So basically what that class did is it just helped the students kind of navigate what is that first year, that first semester look like, and how can we handhold to make things easier for you? First generation college student on my end. When I went to Saginaw Valley State University, go Cards. But I didn't know what I was doing. Nobody in my family at that time had gone to college. And so it was a learning experience for all of us. And so, how do you network? How do you meet the right people? Which departments are the ones that need to be your best friends? How do I time manage items? What classes do I pick? Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's so many classes I think that
Am I supposed to go to a counselor? Like,
am I supposed to go to a counselor?
Yeah, the simplest things,
and then when you have those opportunities to help those students engage in those spaces, I don't know about you, but it's so much easier to do and to ask when somebody, it's somebody that you trust, somebody that has given credibility to that person or that department. And I think that's what we were able to do. We were able to help build bridges. We were able to help break down barriers for these students to succeed.
First generation college student.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the same boat as you. How did that come about? Did you get out of high school and you were told to go to school, or was it like, I want to do this? Because you were telling me you're growing up in a multi-generational home. The values of your grandparents could be very different from yours, leaving high school. So what did that look like for you?
I think it was just kind of always unspoken, like, oh, you're going to graduate and then you're going to go to college next. But not really fully understanding what that means. I mean, what are you going to be when you grow up? How are you going to do it? Just navigating that shift from kind of a very structured environment to going to a college setting where it's all of a sudden you have a class at 8 a.m, then you might have a class at 7 p.m. at night. And, all of the things in between. I don't know. It was kind of always expected. There definitely were some bumps in the middle of the road. Like I had no idea what I was doing. I treated college when I first started just like I treated high school, where it's like, I'm going to do all of these activities and then I'm going to go to class, and maybe on a Tuesday I might get 4 hours of sleep. And it was very overwhelming. I'm not going to lie. Like my second semester, I pretty much failed like 2 or 3 of my classes, and then having to go back to school that semester after that to kind of recoup those credits, retake those classes, and, get it together. That was.
What did you study in college?
Oh gosh. At the end of the day, I was like, how many credits do I have to just graduate? So I ended up graduating from SVSU with my major in Spanish, and then a minor political science, and then sociology. In between there, I did go to Delta College, so I also have an associate's from Delta College. And then after I graduated from SVSU, I went back to SVSU for a master's in administrative science.
What did your parents say when you're like, I'm going to go back to school, and then I'm going to go back to school again, and guess what? I'm going to go back and work at the school. What did that look like?
I don't think anybody really said anything to me. They just
Yeah.
were just like, she'll figure it out, right? I was always very driven to do things, right? So I was like, I'm going to work full time. I'm going to go to school full time. Mid-year or midway through my college experience, but my undergrad, I also had my son. I got married, I got divorced, and then there was a whole layer of just challenges to navigate. And I don't know, it was just I've always just had this very driven attitude where I'm just like, I'm going to just do it. We're just going to get it done.
You went through a marriage, had a child while in school. At what time period was this acquiring a bachelor's or your master's? Your bachelor's.
Mm-hmm.
That's a busy schedule.
It was, but again, we had that family support. I mean, my grandma, especially, like, she took care of my oldest one while I was at school, while I was at work. My mom jumped in to help when she could. My son's dad, I mean, granted, we had some friction at the very end of our marriage, but we are awesome co-parents. And so, like, I think I can just say, like, I feel like he's been very supportive in anything that I've also done too. It just made it that much easier by just having a very positive experience co-parenting my oldest.
You think that sense of like village and togetherness comes culturally?
Absolutely. And I think one of the things too is that I champion it as well, right? It makes it that much easier to bring people together, to lean on people, and I think that that's one of the lessons I've learned since I've kind of grown and matured in these spaces, where it's like, when people offer to help you, they really do mean it.
Okay.
So let's
let's unpack that for a minute.
Yeah, like, how many times has somebody been like, anything you need, let me know. Anything you need, right? And
do you think they mean it?
It took me a while, but yes, I think people genuinely do mean it. You just have to just kind of just unpack that pride a little bit and step back to say, like, all right, let's take you up on that offer, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's really like how and why I feel like I've been successful and had such a positive experience maturing in this day and age.
God. Okay, so pride. In my mind, I'm over here trying to wrestle this. Being prideful, being this kind of like, I can do it attitude, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then just a second earlier, you had said, I'm driven because I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is that fine line of, I can do this. Should I do this?
Right.
Let's kind of like you're shopping and you're like, oh, but it's on clearance. But do I need this 5th black tank top?
Yes, I do. I do need that.
No, you don't. You have four at home.
Tell my husband, cover your ears, cover your ears. Yes, I need it. I need it.
So that drive saying, I can do this, I can get it done. But then we have somebody volunteering, hey, let me help you take some of this, off of your plate. But I can do it. I can get it done.
Who's to say that can't be part of that drive? Like, letting somebody else help you, handhold you, carry you, take the weight or the burden of something very small that might just be like itching at you. Like, how is that not part of your drive journey?
Yeah. So for women who are listening and they're like, I'm riding that fine line, someone keeps asking me, hey, let me help you out with that, girl. Or I got you, let me do this. Or text me if you need anything. What would you tell her?
You know what? It's not easy to take somebody up on their offer to help, but I think one of the best ways to really unpack and explore that opportunity to take that next step and to say, like, yes, please, like, help me, save me, is you got to build relationships with people. Like, things don't happen overnight. You have to, learn a little bit more about who they are, what drives them, what their values are. And you got to build that trust.
Yep.
You got to build that trust. And without trust, you're not going to be able to let go fully.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Trust. I can speak on this because I'm a mother of 2 and, a Latina. Trust is huge. I do not just let anyone, like in the circle of my children. Right. So, moving back and forth and, who can watch the kids. Right. That's one of those things where it's like, well, who can watch the kids and then who can I trust and then who's available. Right. So do you see, better question here. How can we get to know someone to let them into our circle? Like, what is something that you recommend to kind of bring people into that trust factor?
I think you have to be intentional about it. You have to really sit down with somebody, have dinner, have coffee, text message, see them in different circles. I think it's not a one size fits all. Like this is like the step A, B, and C and how to do it. You have to do all of these different ways to really understand and know who that person is and what drives them. And I think it's important to note too that your level of trust might be very different with different people in your lives and what they're willing to offer you. So you might be a little bit more intentional on building a really strong relationship with some, but maybe others, maybe you don't need to go that far into that space either. And that's okay. That's totally okay.
So getting comfortable,
getting comfortable being uncomfortable and being vulnerable. I think it's one thing to interview somebody and get to know all about them, but you got to give it's a two-way street. You got to share about yourself as well. And I think that's it's something learned. It's something that I think you grow into, and it becomes more comfortable as you get older. But man, I think for myself, I think that's probably been huge. Absolutely huge is like how and where to identify awesome people to build that trust and relationship and to grow together.
And being genuine about it.
Absolutely.
Every step of the way. I like what you said when you said you have, you're observing people, you're watching them, but you are also watching them in different circles, right? This may be my friend from church, but let's go to dinner and with other friends, how are we intermingling? I really like that idea. Have you, and just in the last minute here, have you ever heard of the deposit theory with friends?
No.
So essentially, I'm putting a deposit in you when I give you an affirmation, a piece of advice, or something along the lines of I'm pouring into you, and then you're putting a deposit into me. And then the more that we do that, obviously our accounts get larger. Right. So then that trust factor grows. So it's a whole deposit concept, which I love and adore. And I wanted to share that real quick. But so we have Raquel Perez with us today, and we are going to take a quick break. So stay tuned. We're going to come back and dive a little bit deeper and see what she's really about and find out what her hidden talent is. So, you are listening to That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara, and stay tuned.
That's What She Said with Christiana Malacara is back. Now let's spill the tea.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the second half of That's What She Said. I have my dear friend with me, Raquel Perez, and she is amazing. We unpacked some advice on how to build trust with friends and what that may look like specifically from, and I'm going to say it, the Latina culture, right? Being in a culture that's multi-generational, that's all packed into one with all these opinions and all that stuff.
Strong personality.
I
may not have one.
All right. Well, okay. So I'm not going to speak on that. Thank you. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. You are a busy woman. You are hard to pin down. And one of those reasons that you're so busy is because you have 3 children, 2 boys and a girl.
They're my everything. They're my life. I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of being a grown up is being a mom, being a wife and a partner. And I will say, I don't think that I could be an awesome mom without having an amazing partner. And my husband is just my rock. I think we do really well together to take care of our littles and our dog. I can't
yeah, I know. You have to throw the dog in there.
I got to throw the dog in there.
Did you always know that you want to be a mom?
Yes.
Really?
Yep. I don't know. I feel like maybe that's something you grow up with. I always played with baby dolls when I was little, and I mean, I had a whole stack of them, right? And it's just, I don't know. I just love that nurturing opportunity, and it's I don't know. I feel like they teach me mostly, versus me teaching them, right? How to be patient, how to be kind, how to be flexible, how to be agile, right? Parenting is a very fluid space. There's so many books out there, but there's really no books to tell you exactly how to do this. And I think I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that?
Absolutely.
But you're the type of girl who like, we kind of need a little bit of a plan here.
I think I'm getting better at it, but I don't. I think I'm also in a space where it's like it is what it is, right? I could do all of the things. I can plan play dates. I can plan out what the week's going to look like. I can plan out what dinner's going to look like. But I'm really just kind of driven. Like, what do you guys want to do? Like, how do I feel that day? Like, what do I want to do? And it's been a lot easier to to be able to just flex in that space.
To be a parent.
To be a parent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're right. There's books. Now there's podcasts with advice.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't know.
Yeah, short term, like TikTok videos and video reels and Instagram. Everybody giving their piece of advice. But I'm like, that's great if it works for you, but it might not work for me. And that's okay.
That's okay. Mm-hmm. So what is like the biggest takeaway that you've learned from being a parent? Because, we said in the first segment, mm-hmm. you had your first in college, and now we're mm-hmm. kind of over here again with the littles again. Right. So what from your son, what piece of advice, what did you learn from that you were bringing into, being a mom again?
I mean, really just to love with your whole heart. Right. Mm-hmm. Don't have high expectations as well. I mean, I think it's funny. Like now it's a joke, right? Where I'm just like, oh man, when my oldest Gary, when he was older, he was so quiet and he was so timid. And then I have my middle son. He's very emotional, right? He's an empath, and he's he talks a lot as well, right? And then I have my daughter who she's just living her best life. If I love it. I'm just like, she's never going to want for anything. She's going to go get it herself because she has no problem pushing chairs up to the counter, climbing on things, go grabbing those cookies. Like she's going to just do it. And I think that, just being mindful that they're just very different. There's not a one size fits all, and to just love with your whole heart. It's just made it that much easier.
Ooh, not one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That's an interesting way to look at it. When my two were little, it was kind of one of those things where it's like, well, I did this with my daughter, so it's going to work with my son.
Fail.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to fail.
Didn't work. Guess what, guys? It didn't work.
You're going to fail. Yep.
And the same
mm-hmm.
wonderful partner, very helpful in all aspects.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely is a team, village, even
mm-hmm.
effort to move through parenting.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of and then navigating your career through it on top
mm-hmm.
of it. So who was that person for you when you were younger that you looked up to that was essentially like, she's got it going on. This is who I want to mirror.
I don't think there was anybody specifically that said like, oh yeah, I want to be just like so-and-so. I think that there was a lot of people, a lot of females in my life, whether it was like family friends, aunts, cousins, they all kind of had something special about them in their own different ways. But if I were to follow anybody's footsteps directly, I don't think I would have landed here today. And so like, how do we take collectively all of those experiences and those influences and make it where it is today? I think that's really what I honed in on. I look at my mom, she was a strong, single parent. Amazing. Look at my grandparents, my grandmother, she, never had a high school diploma, but worked for GM, retired from GM, was I could consider very successful, but always, also a mom, went to church every Sunday, then I look at, some of my cousins where, they were graduating, they were doing things. I look at one of my other cousins, she's an amazing mom, so I'm seeing all of these different journeys, and I can take a piece of a little bit of everybody to kind of really just, build who I am and how I came to be. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then also tying into like, who are the people that you've experienced, along the way. So outside of that family circle that, there's, maybe there was that teacher that maybe just said that one thing, going to college, it was meeting other like-minded, peers, college students that were similar, in a similar experience, like me. And then just growing even more. I think that there's still women that I'm experiencing and that I'm meeting where they have something to offer, and it's amazing where I'm like, I can take that and I can still help me make me grow.
evolving then.
Evolve.
Oh,
Yes.
essentially
Yeah.
you're evolving. You're
Yep.
from the beginning. You're just taking pieces.
I even
and
think about
evolving.
you. Like I see like you, like, how awesome it is to watch you, and how you're navigating and doing, multitasking in a lot of different spaces. And I mean, that's something to celebrate, right? That's something to celebrate. Look at those lessons that I can learn from you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're my rock star. You're my hero.
My hero, baby. Speaking of singing, so Raquel has this hidden talent. Can you tell us what it is?
Are you talking about the fact that I don't know how to cook for just my family? I have to cook for an army. I don't know how to not cook for just like
just trays of enchiladas at home. Just trays of enchiladas, rice and beans. Oh my gosh.
Yes, rice and beans. I can make rice like that any day, anytime. Oh my gosh, my Instapot. If you ever want beans, my Instapot.
Okay.
That's where I go to make my beans.
You hear that, Jonathan? Just bringing dinner.
You let me know. I'll cook for you.
So you sing?
Yes. Yeah, I've been singing since I was little. Grew up at the within the church. My grandparents and my mom and actually my dad's side of the family as well. They were part of the choir at St. Anthony's, also St. Joe's. St. Anthony's is now St. Francis of Assisi's. So kind of always had it. And it was just something that I think is what our family has been known for. Like, I feel like everybody kind of has like this musical talent. It was just a way to bring us together. My grandpa, especially, like he was the heart of our family. And, you would always catch him if you ever walked to the house or anywhere. If there was a guitar, he was playing it. Yep. And then the chances are that, you were expected to sing when he was playing, it was going to happen.
Highly likely.
Yes.
So it's a generational gift.
Yes.
That's also rare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I have uncles that that play the guitar as well. My mom plays the guitar. I consider myself a professional amateur. I can play some chords, right?
This is why I love her.
We can knock out a couple of songs, of course, but there's certain chords I can't play because my fingers aren't long enough. But that's just like what our family is known for, what our family valued was also the music, and that just the fact that it brings people together.
I would say, why was it important for you to continue singing, like to do that?
I think it kind of goes back to like how and what can I share for myself, with others, and I love that.
Servant-based leader. Wow, this is a common thread.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that goes back to your grandfather was he in that same servant-based leader mentality?
When it came to music, I would say yes. Anytime anybody needed something, I feel like he definitely would step up. Both of my grandparents actually, like, I especially think about like, times where it's like, weddings and funerals, especially. Again, they played a lot for the church, and I always think like funerals, when people are at their lowest, and they just need something. Like it was always like, yep, no problem, I'll be there. We'll take care of it. Don't you worry about it.
Wow. That's big. Culturally, you said that you identify as a Mexican American and also a Chicana.
Yep.
Can you define that for us?
I have roots from Mexico, also in Texas. Very proud to have that cultural background. There's a lot of traditions that we still carry on, whether it's with the food, with the music, how we worship within our church. We're Catholic, I'm Catholic. My children are raised Catholic. How we're bringing those traditions into our family, where it's the words that we're still using in our family. Trying to think too, like the stories, the folklore that we hear. I'm just really proud of that. The other part of it too is like I'm proud to be American. I'm proud to be from the United States. I was born in Indiana. I grew up here in Michigan, and that is also a huge part of my identity and my family's identity.
And taking that tie, and you had mentioned, and my mind is just kind of cycling around, culture, music, and then also this celebration of life that is deeply rooted in, the Mexican culture. And in some ways, being as a Mexican American and moving through these generations of growth here, we are becoming a little bit more detached from, that Dia de los Muertos, right? The
Right.
Day of the Dead. And you said it. Your dad would just, or your grandfather would just, I got you. Like,
Mhm.
we got this funeral covered. That is a huge, it's a huge deal. It's a huge act of service to the
Mhm.
community. Do you see yourself, and in which ways do you see yourself exploring culture with your children?
Absolutely. I think that anytime that there's an opportunity to engage them in the culture, we're doing it. I mean, uh, again, food, music. I mean, dress. I think of like the novena where we're celebrating the Virgin Mary for 9 days. If you're Catholic, you know about this a little bit probably. But it's the fact that we're bringing in our also our indigenous culture into those spaces, and it's making sure that my kids are seeing it, that they're dressing it, they understand how and why it's important. It's understanding those stories behind it. Also understanding the generational stories of like family and like how and where we have grown and evolved. I even think of like Dia de los Muertos, like we've always kind of known about it, but it hasn't really been celebrated, in my opinion, in the US, the way it is celebrated now. And it's beautiful to have seen that grow and evolve. And then to also bring that tradition into our home as well. So we're celebrating and we're remembering, the folks that came before us. But it's just constantly just exposing them to those different opportunities, to those languages, to the different YouTube channels to help them learn the language.
That's it.
Yeah.
The language. I mean, like I said, a lot of this gets
Movies,
lost. But
there's no right or wrong way to do this, right? There's not a checklist to say you have to do all of these things to make yourself, be Mexican American and to celebrate your culture the right way, right?
Yeah.
It has to work for you, and I think that we're doing a good job. I think we're doing a good job of doing that and exposing our children to it.
That's an interesting way to put it, as essentially you're teaching them, right?
Mhm.
But you're also, empowering them in culture. So a lot of times on That's What She Said, we talk about this ripple effect of, empowerment.
Mhm.
But if we take empowerment and culture together, we have just brought this to an entirely new tier.
Mhm.
So I know a little something, and I'd like you to share a little and expand about it. In the act of culture, housing exchange students.
Yes, we did. We have hosted exchange students short term for a number of years before the babies came along, and that was just really it was a really eye-opening experience. I would say that my favorite opportunity to engage with was with a Pakistani student, right? Completely different culture. I mean, he was identified as Muslim and had to have halal meat, and it was just very different. I think that the point of the exchange was so, I think most people think of it's like they're going to come here and learn American culture. And my poor baby, he was not only learning American culture, he was learning Mexican American culture, and then we were also learning as well. We learned about religion, we learned about his Pakistani heritage, some of his experience, just growing up and comparing apples to apples. It wasn't even apples to oranges. It was just very different experiences. But what an awesome opportunity to appreciate the differences. And I remember too, we talked about the novena. I took him to church one time, and I was like, he's like, I'm not
during
Catholic.
the novena.
During the novena, and this was like, where
it's a long service.
We're all dressed. There's kids dressed up. They were going to do their Indian dances, and I kept telling him, I said, I just want you to go for the experience. I'm not asking you to praise. I'm not asking you to do anything. I was like, but what you realize is like a lot of our stories are the same.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was awesome. Like I remember he like left that. He was like, you're right. It is kind of the same. And he took a picture with the bishop at the time, and he loved it. Right.
Oh, he went all in.
He went all in. And I was just like, I just love that opportunity to engage with him, but then also to learn from him as well.
So exploring cultures outside of your own.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's important?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all people, right? We all have different experiences, and diversity is such a big word, right? It's not just race, it's not just gender, it's your experiences, it's your background, it's your socioeconomic status, it's your what your preferences are, what you like, what your food like. I mean, there's so many different things, and it was just another way for us to explore and appreciate
cultures and subcultures. Let's
Mhm.
touch on that. So we're here. We've established so many things.
Mhm.
If you've tuned in, I'm sitting here with Raquel Perez. She currently was working, and she does work and thrives at HSC, but she also exists in many other realms. And one of those being an advocate for, oh gosh, what are some of the places that you volunteer at? Let's go there.
So I serve on a number of boards. I would say it's the YWCA, the Great Lakes Bay Region's YWCA. It's empowering women. It's eliminating racism. I love being in that space. I am part of the Michigan Works Great Lakes Bay Region's board. So that's workforce development. How are we providing opportunities, breaking down barriers so that way our people are ready and able to engage in their workforce? Heavily involved with my sororities alumni association. Shout out to the ladies of Sigma Lambda Gamma National Sorority Incorporated, Rho Beta Gamma chapter.
Love those ladies.
Yes, love them. So it's just creating a safe space in that space to just be yourself, right? And to encourage others to be themselves. Because sometimes earlier this week I called it, it's like an organized adult play date where you just need that space to just unload and unwind with the people that you love, right?
And that's really important, especially for busy women, right? Who are so multifaceted like you. So would you say that being a sorority sister is something that helps you decompress at the end of the day?
I think it's one of the many ways. I think there's a lot of things that I can do in this space, and I'm still learning. I'm still very much learning how to do that, where it's like, how and what can I do for myself, right? I'm so busy doing for other people because I think that that's what I'm supposed to do. And actually, a really quick short story I can tell. After I had Eva, that's my youngest one, I experienced postpartum depression. Had no idea what that was until somebody else pointed it out to me. And then that was, going down this whole journey of like, you probably need medication, you probably need therapy. And I think therapy is when I really finally understood, because he told me, he's like, you got to do for yourself. You got to do these things. And I really went in there with the mindset of like, this is how I live. These are the responsibilities that I have. I need you to fix me so I can continue to do those things. And he's like, yeah, that's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
And so it's been nice to have that experience. So that way now I can slow down, I can reflect, and I can remember to put myself first.
Remembering to put yourself first. That's interesting, because you said you are a servant-based leader, and so you want to continue to pour into other people.
But you can't pour from an empty cup.
Can't pour from an empty cup.
Mm-mm.
That is so 1000% true. And It took you having your third child to realize this.
Yes.
Someone had to tell you this.
Yep. Somebody had to tell me this. And I still struggle with that, right? I still think that I can do all of the things, right? And boundaries, what are those, right? I'm still struggling with it. It's still something that I'm working on, day to day. But again, I love that I'm surrounded by some really awesome people in my life that remind me to slow down, that remind me to do for myself, and to remind me that I can't do it all. And then I think also too, most importantly, it's like, you can do, but are you going to do your best work, right? You shouldn't give of yourself if you're not going to do it justice.
That's a really good point. So we made a lot of really good points in this last few minutes here, because all of this is so true. And from the perspective of a woman, you can't pour from an empty cup. And if we're going to give it 100%, we need to truly sit down and clear that headspace to do so. So here in our last minute, what is just one solid piece of advice that you would pass along to a woman in the Great Lakes Bay region?
I think it would be to really know that you can do it. You have the resources to do it. Don't let imposter syndrome get you down. And just remember what those resources is and those things that you have in your corner to help you succeed. You have all the tools. You have all the pieces. You can do it.
Oh, you have all the pieces. Thank you so much for coming on. You. I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Raquel Perez. And that's what she said.